things, and they never brought anything like that up. Although I do believe that they do have some type of exit plan in place, some type of safety awareness in place. It hasn't been tabled as of yet, Chief.
You know, I just want to add, I really think that the main focus is really on the middle school, high school level, because even when you have kids with behavioral issues in like the elementary school age, you don't really see it come out like it does in middle school and high school. That's when the kids are shooting. Now, we can have a whole nother discussion about these crazy grown men who go to schools and shoot the kids up, but we are talking about kids who go to school, they attend high school or middle school, and they bring a weapon to school that they were able to obtain either from a gun store or from online somewhere, because the background checks is like, hey, do you have a picture with your name on it? And they go to school and they shoot up the school. Right. That's the concern. And I guess I'm really passionate about the topic, because if I were in school and that were to happen, I would really just be so upset. It's affecting people who are my age or close to my age, you know, and it's really, really disheartening, because, you know, they try to put this on bullying, and unfortunately, I hate to say it, but everyone gets bullied at some point. But it's always those select few who, if you have that nice little combination, because really, if you look at these shooters who were quote unquote bullied, it wasn't necessarily that they were bullied. It was that people just didn't gravitate towards them because they were either standoffish, they isolated themselves. The guy who shot up Virginia Tech, one of the main things they said about him was that he was actually not up for conversation. People would try to engage in conversations, and he really did not want to talk to people. Well, so, you know, I really think that it's really about getting into this idea of kind of ignoring mental illness on the level of adolescence, because I think a lot of people either overlook it because they think it's just something hormonal, but like I just think that it's one of those generational issues, because as a person who is in this age group, it's easy to see. If you looked at the interviews of the kids that went to Majority Douglas, they were saying, you know, we see this kid all the time. We see his social media. We see him, you know, put these things on his Instagram, but it's like the adults don't go on Instagram. They don't see the same things that we see. And it's really hard, because I feel like when you're a teenager, you're already trying to be heard. And it's just one of those things where it's like, no, we're not being over emotional. We're not being crazy. Like, these are kids who really have issues.
Well, you know, it's interesting you should say that. And even when we look at the statistical piece of this, now this is according to the FBI stats from, I guess, from the year 2000 to 2016. Now, here's an interesting thing. Out of the 250 active shooter incidents in the United States from 2000 to 2017, 20.8% were in educational facilities.
Wow.
20.8%. And I mean, we look at things like, for example, these are just a few from this year. You had Noblesville, Indiana. Okay, you had 2 people injured as a result of gunfire at the Noblesville West Middle School.
Yep.
Santa Fe, Texas. You had the shooting at Santa Fe High School. You had in May, Palmdale, California, Highland High School, 14-year-old began shooting a semi-automatic rifle before classes were scheduled, and he struck a 15-year-old boy in the shoulder with that thing. Ocala, Florida, 17-year-old at Forest High School. He he was protesting, and shot students as they were walking out to protest against gun violence of all things. And you have another man in April in Raytown, Missouri, shot in the stomach on the parking lot of the Raytown South Middle School during a track meet. Wow. And of course, there was another incident at Great Mills High School in Lexington Park, Maryland, and with the school resource officer shot and killed the shooter. But my point is, all over the country, here we are talking about young people dying in school or on their way to school.
And honestly, the sad part is there were only a couple of those cases that people know of. It's become such a commonality that it's just, I'll give you an example. I have stats of my own. And the most shocking statistic of this year to me was when this was in May, and they meaning CNN, were reporting that 21 weeks into 2018, there had already been 23 school shootings where someone was hurt or killed. That's on average one shooting a week.
Wow.
That is insane. Yeah. That is absolutely insane. And
let me ask you this, Ambezi. Well, let me ask you this. As a person in the millennial generation, do you all feel like the adults have this at hand? Like the adults have your back? They have you feel protected? I
feel that now they do. Now that, all hell is kind of broken loose. But, I really don't think that that's the issue either. Because, now they're trying to put bulletproof glass in the schools and get the bulletproof backpacks that turn into shields and all that stuff. So I don't really think the issue is adults not having our back per se. But I want to go back to what Pastor C was saying. And that is that we are just kind of in this place where violence is so much more exaggerated. Gun violence is really nothing. Having a gun is really nothing. I went to school with kids who live in the suburbs who are trying to get guns and act like they're hard and stuff. And I just think that the way guns are being thrown around these days is just, it's almost like people don't really see them as a big deal. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's exactly what's happening with the school shootings now. They're happening so much that instead of even trying to prevent them anymore, it's like, all right, well, in case one does happen, here's a bulletproof backpack and an emergency escape plan. Like, that's crazy. And it's just, in society, period, guns are just so... they're just being used so reckless. And when we had the conversation about rap culture and violence, I was showing you music videos where these music videos are getting 11 million views and more, when these are, and they're like 15-year-old kids riding around their parents' neighborhood with shotguns and handguns. Like, it's just, there's just this, I don't know why, but even in light of all these school shootings and youth shootings, and by the way, it's not only school shootings, but I really think it's just the it's this teenage culture and guns, because now it used to be that suicide, yes, was a huge thing in the teen community as far as deaths, but now suicide is the number 2 highest cause of death in teenagers. Yeah, and it's gun related.
Well, I'm thinking about all of this, Ambezi, and you guys have presented some wonderful statistics, and I am concerned about the young people who are doing it.
Yes.
I'm actually considering their motives, their why, and then I considered the statistics that I am, privy to. 75% of young people felt bullied, persecuted, threatened by others. Mm-hmm. Those who were participants in school shootings or something of that sort. A lot of them were revengeful, and they did these things because they were bullied or they were persecuted or they felt like they had to get someone back. And so my heart's desire is to find out, what are the motives? Are we assessing these children early on? Are the homes, the parents, the environment that the young people grow up in, are they conducive enough and healthy enough where the parent or the grandmother can see that this child has a problem? My mother used to just stare at us sometimes. We would walk past her, she would sniff us, and she'll be able to say what was going on inside of us. She paid attention to us. And I just feel that a lot of parents and some of our communities are failing these children by not providing the proper attention early on in life. And these emotional, psychological problems that they have, they're taking it out in a very rageful way, and they're using guns, I sent my daughter to school. I have a daughter in college, and she called me one day, and there was an active shooting on her college campus, and she's all the way in Baltimore, Maryland, and I was so helpless. I felt like I could not get to her. I didn't know what to do. I was waiting on her to call me, and no parent wants to stand by a phone trying to find out if their child is okay. And so I'm thinking like, wow, I don't want to be put in that situation. And I wonder, how do the parents feel whose children are doing these crimes? Are we giving Johnny the amount of attention that he needs before he shoots up the school? Mm-hmm. Is Johnny receiving the proper discipline that he needs before he shoots up the school playground? And so it is a great topic that we're dealing with. And guys, listen, school safety is a huge issue, and we're going to cover as much as we can this evening. When we come back, let's talk about this a little more, and we're going to deal with the warning signs, the preventions, and the long-lasting impact on the victims and the entire community. We'll be right back in a moment.
You're listening to Straight No Chaser, the only show to quench your talk radio thirst.
I just remembered it's election day. Are you going to vote?
I don't know. I don't think I'll have time today.
Millions of eligible voters in America never make it to the polls or even register to vote. When you don't vote, you're letting other people make decisions for you and pick the things your taxes will pay for. Voting is more than a civic duty. It gives you a voice about the priorities and the future of your community and our nation. Voting gives you a seat at the table.
Welcome to the Community Happy Hour, where we feature free events throughout the country. The Summer Concert Series will continue every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. at the Largo Shopping Center in Largo, Maryland. The Las Vegas Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated invites the community to participate in the D-Free Debt Reduction Program's $1 Billion Challenge. Go to www.billiondollarchallenge.com and register with the DST LVAC group as they seek to reduce the overall debt in the community. The DPW Free Shredding event for city residents will occur on August 18th at 9 a.m. at the Poly High School parking lot at 1400 West Cold Spring Lane in Baltimore, Maryland. The gentlemen of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated and the ladies of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated are sponsoring the Bowling for Babies event on Saturday, September 1st at 3 p.m. at the Texas Station Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. For further information, call 614-226-3463. The there will also be a foster parenting seminar held at the Bloom facility at 5205 7th Street in Las Vegas, Nevada. The A Child's Dream Back to School giveaway